Hi, welcome to this episode of 八字 for Career Success. In today's episode, I'll be sharing about the people orientation. Thus far, I've shared the other 4 orientations in the Asian Personality Profiling System: the action orientation, the process orientation, the idea orientation, and the analysis orientation. In today's episode on people's orientation, I'll be sharing with you 2 profiles, the friend profile as well as the leader profile. Under the traditional 八字 system, the companion structure, which has the friend as well as the Rockwell in the structures itself. Rockwell under the traditional 八字 system is really literally Rockwell. What does it really mean when people say that you have the Rockwell structure? Let me share with you more in today's episode. So if you enjoy my 八字 series where I've covered health, relationship and career, please do remember to click on the subscribe button, like the video, share it, as well as click on the notifications bell so that you can receive a reminder whenever I upload new videos. On the reference chart for the skill sets, please do join our Telegram channel so that you can download the reference chart as well. So without further ado, let's start with our lesson today. Before we begin, as usual, please do remember to download your 八字 chart from 八字calculator.janetyong.com, or you can scan the QR code as shown on the screen to get your 八字 chart before we begin. Similar to all the other structures or orientations, what we're looking for is the RW, which represents Rockwell, or F, which represents a friend structure in the month branch. And in this particular example, you see the RW within the month branch. And this person also has got the F in the heavenly stem of the month pillar itself. So the other thing is, when would the friend influence come into our chart? And what kind of influence would it bring? Similarly, if you're not born in the month of the F or RW structures, or what we call the companion structure or people orientation profiles, then you should be looking either for the F or the RW as shown in the various luck pillars of this person's 八字 chart. So today we'll be covering the companion structure or the people orientation from the perspective of the Asian Personality Profiling System, which I adapted from the traditional 八字 system so that it's easier for people to understand their orientations in terms of work approach as well as their characteristics. So we'll start off again with understanding ourselves, because with better self-awareness, we'll be more aware of our intrinsic and inherent talents. And then if you spend time basically building the skill sets to maximize your inherent talent and potential, that's when you will do well in your career and also be successful, because that's something that you'll be passionate about. So like in all the other episodes, when you are actually studying this system, one of the first crucial thing is to look at basically your day master or element as to the intrinsic talents that you have and intrinsic characteristics, because whether a person is born on the day of fire, wood, earth, metal or water, even if they are the same orientation like people, idea or process, it will still present in different ways. Every human being is complicated, so there are different layers. So the first layer is the day master or day element. The second is basically the orientation, and each of us cannot only have 1 or 2 profiles, right? So that's why we have the JYPQ chart that showcases what's obvious to others, what is not, and how do you get that? Basically, you can go to the Paths mobile app, which you can find either on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Search for Paths by Trilogy and you should be able to get the Paths app, or you can scan the QR code that is in this slide to see the link to download the mobile app for free. And once you have downloaded the mobile app, you will be able to see the different layers. One is the day master or day element. Second is basically your orientation or your work approach or the suitable kind of work environment that you will enjoy working in. And the third would generally be the JYPQ chart, which showcases your base profile, which is the profile that you are the most comfortable working in, your other profiles that have stronger influences in your chart, as well as any blind spot that you might have. To recap, the profiles that have a higher influence or stronger influence in your chart are within the yellow quadrant, which is obvious to others, or in the purple quadrant, which is not as obvious to others. So for today, we'll be focusing on the base profile, which is within the red rectangle. And what we're looking for is either the friend or the leader in the red rectangle, which is your base profile, or if you want to understand what is the influence, especially if they are within your yellow and purple quadrants, the friend or the leader profile itself. Let's take a look at what motivates a friend in the people-oriented profiles. The friend is honorable, resilient, and strong-willed. So they usually are pretty confident in terms of what they are doing, and they will take the effort to learn things that they do not understand. Therefore, they usually would appreciate the help and assistance that they give to others when they take the initiative to resolve issues. And when you do not show your appreciation, that's when they basically get demoralized or demotivated and may not come forth to help others in the future. They are also not motivated, obviously, in a working environment where there are not so much of teamwork and it's really very impersonal, and oftentimes when they feel unappreciated, and therefore they will not come forth to basically provide their assistance or help. What about that of the leader profile? The leader profile is someone who is inspirational, confident, and proactive. So they generally enjoy a working environment because they are very proactive, to be given the freedom and to inspire people on things that they think are worthwhile doing, things where they feel can value add to other people. And they will definitely not be motivated when placed in tasks where they only handle papers, push projects, and there's nobody to inspire, nobody to influence. That's when they will totally be demotivated, demoralized, and not be of their full potential. Then when we look at the friend profile, what are the 3 skill sets that they should be building? The first, because of their inherent talent of being strong willpowered, confident, and reliable, the first would actually be, of course, teamwork, communication skills, because if you have various different projects, for example, when we are looking at starting a new business, the analysis-oriented profiles will be great at doing research. The idea orientation people will be great at coming up with plans of what to do. The process-oriented people would basically come up with the step-by-step procedures of what needs to be done. The action profile will just go ahead and do it, right? But of course, you cannot do things alone. You need a team to work with, and who better than getting the people-oriented profiles or the friend profile, if you're looking at a smaller team, to basically network and convince people on the causes that they should be moving towards, to the goals that they should be trying to achieve. And with that, in the case of talking to people, building people relationship, there'll be times where you need to negotiate. Therefore, negotiation is another critical skill set that the people-oriented profile of friend should pick up as well. So the other thing that is great is the people-oriented profiles, because they are great at influencing people when they have maximized their potential and talent, they should be very good at closing sales. Therefore, taking up and building the skill sets of sales and goal setting, being in the front line, would be great actually for the friend profile to pick up. Let's then take a look at that of the leader profile. The leader profile is someone who is great at influencing others, confident, as well as adaptive. So similar to that of the friend profile, one of the skill sets that they should definitely pick up is that of sales and goal setting, because they will inspire other people to reach the company's goals or inspire people for the same cause. The other thing that would be great is, since they are called the leader profile, right? Basically, they should build up on their leadership skills, the financial skill sets, especially when we talk about the traditional barter system. The leader profile is termed rob wealth. And what does it really mean by rob wealth? Now, rob wealth generally means because the individual is wanting to influence others. Therefore, they will come up with all means to influence the others, at times also including spending the necessary money to influence and motivate others. Therefore, they don't think so much about money. So from the traditional sense, it would then mean that other people are robbing this person's wealth because this person is trying to convince and influence them. Therefore, when in business or when doing skill sets and doing your own financial planning, it is crucial then to be aware that you have these particular tendency, because I have many clients who are the rob wealth structures or leader profiles who tells me that they cannot save money because they have a tendency to spend. What you can do is pick up the good habits of financial savings. So what do I advise my clients who are rob wealth structures? Normally what I tell them to do is basically create a bank account where it's easy to put in the money and difficult to draw it out. So in previously, when there's not so much online, then it's just not to get too many of their bank cards or ATM cards that they can draw out money easily. Now what I suggest that they do is probably then, once they have saved to a significant amount, is to invest in fixed deposits, structured deposits, where it's not easy for them to draw out the money. The key is, because the leader or the rob wealth structure likes to influence others, therefore they want to appear good. So at times they then will basically spend the money in order to look good. The third thing that is great for the leader profile or the rob wealth structure to pick up is presentation skills and public speaking. Because if you want to influence other people, it is critical that you appear and speak well. So these are the three skill sets the leader profile or the rob wealth structure should pick up. So once we have talked about understanding ourselves, the next is basically really understanding other people. Especially for the people oriented, you need to understand others, influence and convince them from their perspective. So one of the key person that is crucial in basically influencing is definitely your boss or superior, because they will play a key role in your career development and growth. The two profiles in terms of leadership styles, let's start off with the friend profile. The friend profile, like I mentioned earlier, is honorable, resilient and strong-willed. So they usually are the ones who basically have a lot of trust in their team members, and they seldom give basically a lot of direction because they believe the other profiles would be able to figure out their way. So they therefore are more of a participative leadership style, and usually they would work well in a team environment where everyone is more or less pretty capable. And the other thing about participative leadership style is the friend leader will generally listen to everybody's opinion before they take a decision, and they will try to make sure that everyone is happy, and this may delay the decision making time. So therefore, if you want a faster track, especially if you're an action oriented person, is to basically gather the team members, have them more or less on your side, work out the pros and cons so that you can come to a consensus in a meeting much faster. Then let's take a look at that of the leader profile. The leader, like I mentioned earlier, is inspirational, confident and proactive. They are usually very good at seeing the good possibilities in people, and they are good at motivating as well as cheering other people on, especially their team members, to move towards the common goal or direction. However, what is key is they have to believe that the common goal or the project that you do contributes to the bigger picture. So if you admire them as a leader, tell them, because the leader profile tends to be a little bit more egoistic. That's why they spend money to make themselves feel good and look good. Therefore, they love adoring fans. And if you can basically tell them that you appreciate their efforts in terms of grooming you, they will then respond more positively and aid you in decision making towards your favor. So basically, I've covered all the 5 orientations of action, process, idea, analysis, and in today's episode, the people orientations. So if you have not gotten your 八字 report or your career profiling report, you can basically get our complete 八字 career profiling report at this link that I show here. Right now there's a promotion. You can get this special report at only US $36, else it would have cost you more than 100 Sing dollars as shown in this picture, or you can scan the QR code that is shown here. Now I've come to the ending of the 八字 for career success, basically covering the 5 orientations, and in next week's episode I'll be sharing more about how do you tell whether what elements will be favorable for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this particular 八字 series, please do remember to subscribe, click the like button and notifications bell so that we can share with you the reminder whenever I upload new videos. Thank you and see you in the next episode. Bye!